In a word, it's chaos.
You'll have to see it to believe it. Whoever said that must have been talking about Talladega. It's a place where chaos mixes with speed, where a town turns into a city, and a weekend becomes a lifetime of memories. It's a tradition like no other.
What a wild finish.
At a track like no other. And after it's all over, you still don't believe it ever happened.
The winner at Talladega.
Get your tickets now at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com.
Roll Tide and welcome to this Thursday edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. This is Roger Hoover. Great to be back with you from our studios in Tuscaloosa, and we're glad you're with us for this Thursday edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. We'll start the show today by looking at our headlines for this afternoon. They are always brought to you by our friends at RJ Young. RJ Young have furnished us with this great smartboard, and they are the official technology solutions provider of Crimson Drive. Busy show coming up today, all things football and soccer on the show today. We'll start by hearing from the coach of the Crimson Tide, Nick Saban, talking Alabama football, specifically looking ahead to the upcoming scrimmage that Alabama has on Saturday. We'll also go to the Thomas Stewart practice fields, get to see some practice footage of Bryce Young, Will Anderson Jr., Tyler Harrell, all getting ready for this upcoming season. They'll be talking soccer for the rest of the show. Today is opening day across college soccer as Alabama's athletics calendar gets underway with tonight's matchup between the Alabama Crimson Tide and Florida Atlantic. So head coach Wes Hart, we'll have a checklist from him. We're going to have a full conversation with him coming up on tonight's edition of Hey Coach and the Nick Saban Show. But good to hear a little bit from Coach Hart about what he expects from the Crimson Tide this season. Then we'll head to the practice field with some interviews we recorded with McKinley Crone, outstanding goalkeeper for the Crimson Tide, as well as midfielder Felicia Knox, who looks to be a very important part of Alabama's offense for this fall. So that's what's coming up on the show. We'll go through some other headlines, starting with Crimson Tide football team as the third week of practice is underway under the hot Alabama sun. The Crimson Tide keep getting ready for this upcoming season that will begin on Saturday, September 3rd at home against Utah State. Kickoff at 6:30. Our radio coverage coming up that Saturday will begin at 3:30 across the network. And again, coming up in a moment, we'll hear from the head coach of the Tide, Nick Saban. Along with college soccer, again, we're focusing on them later in the show. Starting the season with a trip to Florida. You have Florida Atlantic as the opener tonight in Boca Raton, and then the Miami Hurricanes coming up, an ACC versus SEC matchup on Sunday at 4 o'clock before the Crimson Tide will be home next weekend on Thursday and Sunday, welcoming in next Thursday night Southern Miss, and then next Sunday the Clemson Tigers in a rematch of last year's win in the NCAA tournament for Alabama. We've got some great news as well from the SEC on the preseason watch list. You have goalkeeper McKinley Crone. Riley Mattingly Parker is back this season for Alabama after being injured all of last season, so we're glad she's back and healthy, ready to lead once again as one of the captains for this team. Riley Tanner had such a great year transferring from South Carolina to Alabama last year. As I mentioned, Felicia Knox, we'll hear from her in a moment, and then Raina Reyes ready once again to be a leader for this Crimson Tide team. Some other notes across Alabama athletics. Women's basketball. Now we know that the 2022-23 SEC schedule has been announced. Some great home matchups coming up for the Crimson Tide here in Tuscaloosa, along with some road trips against the very best of the SEC in women's basketball. Also, cross country has the full fall slate announced both on the men's and women's side. And then the men's basketball team had a 3-0 foreign tour in Europe. We talked a little bit about it last week. A couple of wins they picked up in Barcelona as well as Paris. Really great job done by Nate Oates and the Crimson Tide men's basketball team. And it is worth noting that coming up on Hey Coach and the Nick Saban Show tonight, we will be joined at Baumhower's Victory Grill by the head coach of the Crimson Tide men's basketball team, Nate Oates, to talk about the foreign tour and what he's learned about his players. So we look forward to hearing from Coach Oates all about that trip. Right now, we look forward to hearing from the head coach of the Crimson Tide football team, Nick Saban, as Alabama is underway in week 3 of preseason camp.
I guess the message I had for the players is the real challenge now. I know school started today, and it's kind of the dog days of camp now when you get this deep into it. Still, pretty long ways until you play a game, but still a lot of things to work on. Is you got to challenge yourself to be what you want to see. Take ownership for what you want to accomplish, what you want to do. And I think the big thing is for players to develop the habits to stack good performances, play in, play out, day in, day out, because that's what's going to really allow us to have the consistency, in performance we, need throughout the season. So it's like, what are you willing to do for the people around you? Because you're responsible to do your job, but you're also responsible for them. But I guess a better question is what are they willing to do for you? All right, because they have the kind of respect and trust in you to know that you're going to go out there and do what you're supposed to do, down in, down out, play in, play out, game in, game out. So we obviously have things that we need to improve on. The big focus this week is take where we were last week, from a scrimmage standpoint, from a conditioning standpoint, from a focus standpoint, from an effort, ability to execute standpoint, and try to improve on it so that, this next scrimmage is sort of the last dress rehearsal, so to speak, until the first game comes. So it's really important that we can go out there and sort of do the things that we need to do more game-like, because that's going to be the last time we get an opportunity to do at least that part of it. So not disappointed in where we are at all, not satisfied where we are either, but think that people are trying to do the things they need to do to get where we want to go. I think Tyler's got a lot of ability. I think that all the new players that come in, it's a little different culture here. They all have to sort of buy into the culture of how we do things, what we do, not easily satisfied with what we do and how we do it, and to challenge yourself to be the best that you can be on every play. And I think that's the question that I would have for a lot of different players, but Tyler is certainly showing a lot of ability. He's made really good progress. He's a bright guy. But consistency and performance is something that we're really focused on, and that will create tremendous value for him. We want what's best for all the players. I don't see how any player could ever think that anything that we do is not in their best interest to try to help them be the best version of themselves. They may not like it, just like sometimes when I was a kid, I didn't like what my parents made me do. I didn't like it when my dad made me wash the car over because I didn't do it correctly. I didn't like that, but it made me better. So we all got to go through that to some degree. Most of you all, including the person asking the question, sort of think I'm not approachable. And I don't think that's the case at all. So one of the things that I've always found the radio show to give me an opportunity to do is to allow people to approach me and see how approachable I am. So we let people at the venue ask questions. We let call-in people ask questions. I think it's a good thing for me to, see some of the media people that are actually host on the show. I get to know them a little bit better. They see a little different side of me. I see a little different side of them. So I think it's nothing but, sort of an opportunity to build positive relationships. And, sometimes you get a bad call, but sometimes we deserve a bad call. Sometimes I don't think we did very well either. So why should somebody out there not think we did something very well? So, I'm not offended by people who call in. I think it's an opportunity for them to approach me and me to have respect for them and how they support the program.
Good to hear from the head coach of the Crimson Tide, Nick Saban. Yes, that last comment he was asked about, why do you like still doing the radio show? Why do you like taking calls from listeners, having a special media guest? And he gave a great answer on that. And a reminder, Hey Coach and the Nick Saban Show is coming back tonight. We will not be joined by Coach Saban just yet at Baumhauer's Victory Grill in Tuscaloosa, but in 2 weeks on Thursday, September 1st, he will be back. Chris Stewart will be filling in for Eli Gold, hosting that show. So we certainly hope you can join us, not only tonight, as we will have Nate Oates talking Alabama basketball coming up, Wes Hart, John Parker Wilson will be along as well, but just keep in mind, again, Nick Saban will be at Hey Coach and the Nick Saban Show coming up on Thursday, September 1st, back here in Tuscaloosa. Coach has, of course, been busy with preseason practice for the Crimson Tide, so we wanted to take a moment and let you see some of the work that's being done on the Thomas Drew practice field as Alabama continues fall camp.
Right there today. Let's go. Right there today. Let's go. Catch the ball. Bend your elbows. Look it in. Come on, that's it. Just quickly respond. You gotta go. You gotta go. Get it out. Stop. Good. 16. Here we go. Good. Two left. Go. Clear three. Hut. Clear three. Hut. Run around. First round. Right here. Good. Good. We got to kill that guy down there so there's no run. Good. Good. Right here. Let's go. Go in the front. Let's go. Go. Hurry up. Get whacked over there. Good. Go get it. Good. Here we go. One nickel up. Blue 17. Good. Here we go. Well, nickel single. Let's do it. Then you need. Right here. Good. Here we go. Marco. Go. Fast. Here we go. Fingertips to the dirt. Good. Here we go. Let's go. 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 Good. Fingertips to the dirt. Good. Here we go. Zone turn out. Zone turn fast. Open. Drive. Good. Here we go. Got to turn and run now. Open. Drive. Good. Here we go. Fast. Open. Drive. Good. Here we go. Eyes. Now. Ready. Go. Inside leg up. Exaggerate picking inside leg. That's all I want. Inside leg. Good. That's it. Nice and cool. Up. Inside it. Squeeze. Good. Inside leg. Get up. Good. Slam it down. Punch it, John. Good. Inside leg up. Good. That's it. Good. Punch. Ready. Go. Good. Me and him, right? On those glances, I got to make.
You'll have to see it to believe it. Whoever said that must have been talking about Talladega. It's a place where chaos mixes with speed, where a town turns into a city, and a weekend becomes a lifetime of memories. Get your tickets now at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com.
Glad you're with us for Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Roger Hoover back with you from the studios as we've taken a look at Alabama football to begin this show. But we are really excited that tonight is opening night for Alabama soccer coming up at 6 p.m. It'll be Alabama against FAU to begin the season. And earlier in the week, I had a chance to catch up with the head soccer coach, Wes Hart, as we had an extended conversation that we will play for you in full coming up tonight on Hey Coach and the Nick Saban Show across the radio network, the Varsity Network app, and we'll have a video stream of that, of course, coming up here once again on the CTSN Facebook page. But we wanted to give you a sample of some thoughts from head coach Wes Hart as we get ready to begin the soccer season.
I thought MACY had an excellent game against Vanderbilt. She sits in as that holding midfielder for us, and she did a wonderful job of breaking up plays, winning balls, connecting the left side to the right side and the back to the front. I mean, she was everywhere, and I thought she was fantastic. So if she plays the rest of the season like she did against Vanderbilt, I think we're going to be in good shape. Yeah, she looks good. She looks, strong, and fit, and composed, and confident. Everything you want in a goalkeeper. She looks the part right now. So, we're extremely, fortunate to have, experience and just such a confident goalkeeper in McKinley Crone. I think it's going to be a great test. Florida Atlantic is a team that's traditionally, competing for conference championships. They are, a very good team, and I think, the season opener, we're playing in their football stadium. I guess that's what they do for their first game of the season. So it's going to be a big deal for them. I'm sure they're going to be, pretty excited to play against us. And so, we expect them, from what I've seen and heard about them, it's an athletic team, that it's going to be scrappy and fighting hard, just like any team we play. I mean, they want to win, and I'm sure it's going to be a great first opponent for us. We'll play that Thursday, and then we head down to Miami and play at University of Miami. It's a program that's it's up and coming. They've struggled a little bit, but they do play in an incredibly difficult conference in the ACC. They're battling the Virginias and the Dukes and the Florida States and Carolina every year. So they face a lot of good teams, and so I think they're battle tested, and I'm sure they're gonna give us everything they got as well on Sunday.
We continue on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR, and the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs are returning to Talladega this fall. Don't miss out on the opportunity to see defending champ Bubba Wallace as he takes to the track on Sunday, October 2nd. Tickets are on sale now at thetalladegasuperspeedway.com. If you can't make it out to the track, you can tune into the race on NBC at 1 p.m. Central on October 2nd. Just heard from the head coach of the Crimson Tide, Wes Hart. Now let's talk to some of the great student athletes on this team, including goalkeeper McKinley Crone, as well as midfielder Felicia Knox. Are you really a 6-year senior?
Yes, this is actually my 6th year of playing college soccer.
Well, we're glad you're back at Alabama for another season. Just how fired up are you for the start of this year?
I'm super excited. I'm just grateful for the opportunity to represent the university again one more year.
What do you feel like you've learned in your experience here?
Ooh, give me a second.
Yeah, you're good.
Sorry. Over 6 years, I've definitely learned a lot, but just understanding that every action that we do on the field and both off of the field represents a bigger purpose than us, and hopefully that I can translate that onto the field and create results.
You feel like you have a lot of good momentum from last year after the postseason success. We know you had a great spring as well.
Mm-hmm. It's really exciting to return as many people that we are returning from last year, and also get some really great additions in the freshmen and transfers. I'm really excited for coming off of that season, but also remembering this is a new team and there are new aspects to what this team has to take onto the field.
What's most important for you at this time of the year as we're still pretty early in preseason practice?
Just getting to know everybody's strengths and how to bring those out in every single player. One player may be good at dribbling and another is better at passing, and just how can we highlight each person's strengths in the best way.
Of course, part of your job as the goalkeeper is to organize the back line. How strong is this back line going to be?
It's going to be dangerous, that's for sure. I'm excited for it.
Well, we're really excited for you to get ready for this season. Again, now a 6-year senior. How much have you enjoyed your time at Alabama, especially the fan support you get here in Tuscaloosa?
It's been an incredible experience. Obviously, I didn't start here, but coming here has been the greatest experience I could have asked out of college soccer.
Well, we're really excited for the season to get here. McKinley Crone, thank you for joining us. Roll Tide.
Thank you. Roll Tide.
Felicia, roll Tide. How's everything going?
Tide. Everything's great. Living the life.
Well, do you really enjoy these early days of practice, or are you just ready for the matches to get here?
I enjoy the practice. I think it's a good thing that the team gets back from summer and we start training as a group, and matches come around pretty quickly. So this time goes by quickly, and before you know it, we'll start matches.
What was the summer like for you as you kept working on your game?
It was fun. I actually trained at home. I'm from Kansas City, so I was able to play at home for a little bit. Had my 2 months off, and then came back and started up pretty quickly here in July, and now we're here.
How exciting was it when you and your teammates got to reunite, because there's so much momentum from last year with what you all did?
Yeah, we returned a lot of people, and I think even gaining the 5 or 6 people that we did this summer, just gaining that chemistry back. I mean, everybody played like kind of at home and stuff, and coming back here, I think gaining chemistry, playing with each other again is what we wanted before we started preseason. So.
What did you enjoy most about last season? What do you feel like some of your best moments were?
I really enjoyed the postseason, as well as towards the end of the season. I think we really started to play as a team and be a cohesive unit towards the end there. And I think ending on that note and then picking back up, I think we're gonna pick up kind of where we left off, and I feel like that's way ahead of where we started last season. So
many players returning. How about some of the newcomers? Who's impressed you early on?
I think all of our freshmen are very valuable. I think even whether they start, they play, whatever it is, I think everybody provides a good aspect to the team and a voice, and just push each other in practice. So I think in general, I think all of our newcomers will push each other to provide the best team here at Alabama Soccer for this season.
How would you describe the role that you're going to fill this season for Alabama?
As crazy as it sounds, I am an upperclassman. I know me and Mac were just talking about it, but I think more of a leader aspect. I think just gaining a little more experience, and from the past 2 years, I think I can provide more of a leadership aspect on the field and a voice, rather than being an underclassman. I think that kind of gets lost, but now that I'm a junior, I think that's important.
Well, we're here at the Alabama Soccer Stadium where you have 9 home matches coming up. Of course, exhibition with Vanderbilt, but you're also going to be spending a lot of time on the road. You excited about the road trips to Florida and Utah?
I am. I'm excited. I like to go new places. I have a couple friends in Utah, so we'll play them. So I'm excited about that. So yes, I love flying and travel and all that. It's one of my favorite things. So yes.
Well, great experience before SEC play begins. Felicia, Knox, just thank you so much for joining us. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Thank you.
Thanks to Felicia, Knox, as well as McKinley, Crone for joining us earlier this month in soccer practice. Now they are ready to play soccer for real tonight against Florida Atlantic. Certainly the best of luck to Coach Hart and the Crimson Tide on starting the 2022 season, hopefully on a winning note. We're getting ready for the weekend. That means it is time for a Wickles Weekend Update. Of course, it's brought to you by our friends at Wickles Pickles, wickedly delicious. Make sure you check them out online at wickelspickles.com. Go ahead and order what we have here. We have the relish along with the wicked pickled chips available today. So again, we're glad to have Wickles on board as a sponsor for the Crimson Tide Sports Network this season and part of the Wickles Weekend Update. Let's take a look at the schedule coming up. Well, later today, we're going to be along once again here on the CTSN Facebook page, along with our full radio network and the Varsity Network app for Hey Coach and the Nick Saban Show. First edition of the season is coming up tonight at 6:30 p.m. And also earlier today, we taped our first episode of Tide TV this week. That'll be available on the Alabama Athletics Facebook channel, as well as YouTube and other social media outlets around the state of Alabama. You can also watch that on some of our great affiliates across the state. So we're glad to have Tide TV this week return once again on Monday on radio stations all over the state, as well as the Alabama Insider Podcast. We'll have our daily report begin once again. Crimson Tide today, and then Chris Stewart and Coach Saban will be along with the first episode of the Nick Saban television show across the state, as well as on RolledTide.com coming up on August 28th. And then a week from today, next Thursday, we'll of course have Crimson Drive driven by NASCAR at 2 o'clock, but then later that evening, it'll be Hey Coach or the Nick Saban show. That'll be in 2 weeks, I should say, coming up for the first episode where Coach Saban will be in person. Chris will be along hosting that show again next week as well. And then before you know it, it's time for Alabama against Utah State coming up at 6:30 on Saturday, September 3rd. Our radio coverage will begin at 3:30 p.m. from Bryant-Denny Stadium. And then we'll talk about it on Labor Day, September 5th. It'll be our first episode of Crimson Tide Rewind, 6 p.m. Baumhauer's Victory Grill in Vestavia Hills. I'll be along with Corey Reamer for that show. So we're really looking forward to having that coming up this season. And that is our Wickles Weekend Update, again brought to you by Wickles Pickles, wickedly delicious. Well, that's going to close out this edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. A really busy edition as we've been talking football, we've been talking soccer. There's so much to look forward to here in Tuscaloosa as we're getting closer and closer to the start of the football season. But we've been glad you've been able to share this episode with us. And once again, we'll be back coming up next week for what I believe will be our final edition of just once a week here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Game week against Utah State. We'll have again this show coming up on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 2 p.m. Central, right back here on the CTSN Facebook page. Special thanks to Ethan Carabin, our producer, for putting this show together, and thanks to all of you for watching another edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Series playoffs are almost here. Experience unforgettable racing as the NASCAR Cup Series playoff race returns to Talladega Superspeedway on October 2nd. Lock in your tickets today at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com. Thanks for watching. Roll Tide.